Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments. Hi, good
Hi.
morning. Finally, we made it on this week. It's been some
Oh
week
my
trying.
God. Yeah, it's literally been a week. How are you doing
Yeah,
today?
I feel completely frazzled. It's been a crazy week, which I feel like
Yeah.
kind of sums up my life at the moment, just a bit manic and all over the place. But
Yeah.
we're here and I am going on vacation for a week from Saturday, which
Okay.
is much needed. It feels like it's actually come at a perfect time.
Wait, you're going on vacation when? I thought,
From
what?
Saturday until
When?
next
Wait,
Saturday to
where?
Morocco.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Why did I know this? Or was this
Uh,
like recent or
we
what?
booked it a couple of months ago, I think, and yeah, I've mentioned it to you a few times, mostly because,
Okay, I'm just a bad friend then.
clearly, mostly in line with
Yeah.
like recording dates and stuff, and telling you that I couldn't do
Yeah.
that week. But
Oh,
so
okay.
that is going to be a much needed break. But we'll get into that a bit later on.
Yeah, before we get into all of the ridiculousness of this week, let's spin a wheel. Okay, so social. How do you deal with discomfort in new social settings? What do you think?
Alcohol, drugs. To put it bluntly, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking for the
Go
record. I
ahead.
am joking. Although in
But
the
like
past, I
in the
would
past,
say,
yeah.
yeah, I think I definitely leaned on alcohol. And I think I probably still do to an extent. If I'm really nervous about something or a social event, one or two beers just calms me down. But that's not my answer because that's a really terrible answer. So I love to do affirmations, as we've spoken about a lot on this podcast. I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in what you tell your brain or what you tell yourself is what you will start to believe. And so, literally, like, I did it last night. So, last night I went out with my friends who I met on my Israel trip. And we went to this Jewish film festival, which was really cool. And we saw a really incredibly good movie, very touching, beautiful movie. But I was nervous because I felt like in Israel, I was the best version of myself, personality wise. And I don't know why that was. Actually, I do. Again, to answer the question, I went into that week affirming who I was, the absolute best version of myself. And I was the best version of myself. It worked. And then I've seen them once since I hosted a dinner for them almost a month ago now as a month-long reunion. And again, coming into that, I felt really nervous because I was like, right now, I'm not feeling the best version of myself. I wasn't in a particularly great place, like I haven't been recently. So I was thinking, how am I going to show up as the person that they saw while we were on our trip? And so I went into that session, that dinner, affirming just like positive affirmations. Literally, I am this, I am that. And I have a few go-to ones, and I did it again last night when I was literally walking to the station, walking to meet them. In my head, I was going, I am a master of conversation. I am loved. Conversation flows through me. I'm charismatic. All of these different things. And it fucking works because I went last night and I felt like the best version of myself, even though I haven't been feeling that way recently. So it's nice proof that the way you talk to yourself is so important. And I think last night in particular, because of how I've been doing recently, it was really nice proof that again, if I talk to myself in everyday life like this, maybe I'll start to feel better in general. So yeah, that's a good way of dealing with anxiety or kind of worries in social situations, I think.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it countless times that your thoughts are your reality and everything in your life is a reflection about how you speak to yourself and the energy you put out there into the universe and Like how you speak about yourself is everything you think about yourself and everything you say about yourself is true. So even if you're beating yourself up, it's true. Even if you say positive things about yourself, it's true. Whatever you're saying, doing, like you're speaking that out and speaking it into existence. As far as for me dealing with discomfort in social situations, I love people. I love new people. Like I find it pretty easy to like make new friends and to just be able to connect with random strangers. But from time to time, it depends on the situation. But from time to time, it can be like a little like uncomfortable. I think I just sit there and push through it. I don't know if I like sit there and I don't have any strategies really for any affirmations or anything like that. I think I just sit there and honestly, I think I sit there and observe. I typically sit, I observe, I like watch what's happening. I just kind of like am doing my best to be present and doing my best to observe what's happening around me. And that typically helps for me to see like the interactions between people, and rather than just like throwing myself into it, to just see what's happening around me before I understand like how everything's going. But that's typically the strategy, plain and simple. I don't know if
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
like I don't know
that's
if
fair
it's
enough.
anything like
Yeah,
conscious
no,
like
that's
that.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. I think I had an interesting conversation with my friends last night, actually. We were talking about working remotely versus working in the office, and the
Mm.
difference between, so one of my friends was previously working in a role where she was working from home, didn't have to deal with people, literally was a solo job
Yeah.
where she just got on with her own thing, which is what I'm doing.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah,
me.
and it's what I'm doing at the
Sounds like
moment.
both of
Like I
us.
can just crack on and do whatever the fuck I want, and I can lean on people, but I work fully remotely, and it's basically as long as I'm getting the results, they just let me be. And she recently switched to a job which is completely people focused. She's having to boss people around, point people in the right directions, and every single day she's in meetings all day. And she said the shift is really difficult because she's suddenly having
Mm.
to be this kind of, I don't know if social is the right word, but basically a social butterfly all day and merge into different social situations, although it is related to work. And
Yeah.
so I asked the question, would you say you're more of an extrovert or an introvert? And for me, I really find that question hard to answer in the kind of, now that I'm 29. As a teenager, when we first met, I was 100% an introvert. But I feel like that
Mm.
summer I shifted more into extrovert territory, and I then merged
Yeah.
into that for a long time. And then I would describe myself later on in life as more of an ambivert. Um,
I was
I
about to
would
say
say
you're probably
ambivert, but
ambivert
then
in.
in recent times, I would say over the last year or so, I would say I've slipped back into the introvert world. I'm much less
Interesting.
social. Maybe it's because I've got a long-term partner now as well, and I'm just more of a home bird with that in mind. But I
Yeah.
find social situations much more difficult to deal with in that I get exhausted by them, and I can only last a few hours before I'm like, okay, I need to get my own space back. And actually, that happened last night. I was having a great time again, on top of my game, and then it got to a certain point where we were standing around talking. I was like, I'm I'm done. I'm literally, I switched off. I couldn't physically make any more conversation. So I was like, okay, guys, it's my
Yeah.
time to go. I want to leave. But it's, yeah, it's an interesting one. And you would say you're an extrovert, or yeah,
I'm an
yeah,
extreme extrovert. Yeah. Like I've taken the test before, or I forget which test I took, but on the scale, I was like the extreme extrovert.
which
So it
explains your answer
definitely.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I'm typically not uncomfortable with any of these things, but I tend to go that side, that range.
No, yeah, I think that's a good way to be. But I think both ways are a good way
Yeah.
to be. I think introvert has its perks, but I think ambivert is a very good in between as well. But then with ambivert, you never
Yeah.
know what you're going to get. That's the only problem. I don't get to necessarily pick and
Yeah.
choose which one I am on any given day. Um, but yeah, so that's an interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
Completely. Interesting. How are you? What's been happening? I know this week, honestly, last time we had a chat, you were like really, really going through it. but I think like you were really, really going through it, and now this week has just been insane. Are you doing okay? What's going
Yeah,
on?
this week's been insane in that I had to take a couple of days off work. So for context, for everyone listening, this is the third time we tried to record this week. Is that right?
I think this
Fourth?
is the fourth one because we tried Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
so on Tuesday morning, my mum finally completed the purchase of her new house, which is very exciting. She moved about an hour outside of London, so still fairly close to me, easy for me to get to, an easy drive. But I went over to help her move in that evening. Oh, wait, was it that evening or Monday evening? I don't remember which one, but I went over that evening to help her move in. And I got stuck. So her car was in for repairs, like a long-term thing that's it's been in for 2 weeks, and the mechanics are just useless, even though they're the mechanics that I recommended. So that looks great on me. I then drove over it, and my car fucking broke down. And my car is honestly a pretty good car. I had my sort of annual checkup done a couple of months ago, and the mechanic said to me that it's the best car he's ever seen in terms of like the engine and the way it's built. And then not even a couple of months later, it fucking breaks down. And like when I say breakdown, I don't mean like a flat tire. I mean it just stopped working completely. So I was stranded at my mum's. She is in the middle of nowhere, so I can't get back into London very easily. So we tried to record at this exact time the first time, and I was like, I'm stranded. There's literally nothing I can do. I don't have a laptop. I have my phone, but there's yeah, literally nothing I can do. So I had to take the day off work. I was then stranded a second day because my car still wasn't sorted. Her car still wasn't sorted. And I think as a kid, this would have been my dream, right? Being stranded and not like having an excuse not to go to school. But I think when you get older and you need work, I think like I go crazy without working for a few days. But the other thing is that I work in a very high intensity, effectively sales job, which means that if I take 1 or 2 days off, my target suddenly becomes bigger and bigger to get. And I have like a
Especially after last month too.
exactly. So after last month, I came into this month, and I think I said this to you last week, basically looking at my target from a place of, okay, this is what I missed last month, and this is what I need to make up this month as a result, so I can get back on track. Now, if I hit my target this month, my target is just my normal target, but I want to hit my target plus make up what I lost last month. So, yeah, I'm stressing. Like, I'm stuck at my mum's. I can't fucking work. I am fucking stressing, and I'm off next week for a week, which I
Yeah.
definitely won't be working on that week because I need that week off. And I just see my target getting bigger and bigger. I'm crunching the numbers in my head because I do it based on a daily run rate as to what I need to achieve every day. And it's that daily run rate is shooting up and up, and I'm like, this is like overwhelming as fuck.
Yeah.
And suddenly I'm feeling this intense like burnout feeling coming back of, I'm not sure if it's burnout or anxiety or just pure stress, but it's just this horrible, overwhelming feeling of I can't fucking do this. I can't fucking do this. Anyway, I luckily I got back to work and I hit the ground running, and I've actually had a really good couple of days to set me up really nicely to go away. I've put myself on almost half of my target, like the sort of the month's target, and about a quarter of my sort of total target that I wanted to make this month. So I've actually given myself a really good start, which is great. And yes, so that's really good. And that made me feel a bit better. And now I want to take this next week to just reset and just not think about work, but also really think about my intentions moving forwards. Now we're approaching the end of the year. what are my intentions and
Yeah.
how the fuck am I gonna get over this shit? How am I gonna break this pattern? And I think a week away or week off work it's just come at the perfect time. It has literally come at the perfect time because
Yeah.
I'm in this position where I have so much going on in my head, not just with work, with my relationship, which we discussed before. There's again no real progress on that. It's just a tricky and shitty situation. So career is my main thing at the moment, and it's just as it has been for pretty much our entire friendship, almost. So I'm not quite 'cause we're teenagers, but throughout my entire adult life, it's been such a hot theme. And we spoke about this.
Yeah.
Was it in a voice message? I don't know if we've actually spoken about it on here about how I see this pattern that I go through where I get a job and start by hating it because I need time to settle in, and then I start to love it, and then I start to hate it again, and I just end up
Yeah.
miserable there and just wasting away in this job, doing the bare minimum. And then I end up looking for a new job, and that pattern is so detrimental because it's the jobs that are most likely getting me down, or definitely the type of jobs, and I'm always just falling into the same type. And now I've built an entire resume based on this person, this sort of
Yeah.
career monkey. So yeah, I need to figure out how to break that pattern. It's not even figuring out how, it's about shifting my mindset, and I'm hoping that a week off is just really going to help me reset and be able to shift from one headspace to another. Because I think, as
Yeah.
I've said this so many times before, and you said this to me last week, that kind of is stuck with me a little bit. I know what I need to do, but I never fucking do it. And I've said this so many times
Yeah.
myself on the podcast.
Literally, if we go through every episode on the podcast, most episodes, you're like, I know exactly what I need to do. I just need to do it. And then I'm like, when are you going to do it?
Yeah, and you
know?
said to me, I think it was last week or a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, you said, you say this, but you never fucking do it. So I'll believe it when I see it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that kind of, like, it's the truth. It's the absolute raw truth. But if it hit hard, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm a bullshitter in my own head.
Yeah.
I chat shit to myself. That has to stop if I'm gonna be able to make any progress. I have been doing some research online in terms of kind of social media training and actually really getting good at that. But ultimately, as we've discussed before, it comes from a place of just doing it and learning from mistakes. And that's the best way to learn. There's only so much research and learning you can do. And someone, possibly you, someone said to me, stop researching things and just fucking do it. Just start. Because the more you research,
Experience is the
exactly,
best
like the
teacher.
more you research, the more you're reading, it's almost a form of procrastination. And
It
people
is.
talk about the self-help, personal development world, and there's these people who go to these events constantly. They're always going to personal development events, like Tony Robbins events. They're always consuming podcasts about it, reading up on it, watching YouTube videos about it. I am one of those people. Without the events, I don't go to events anymore. I'm one of those people who consumes and consumes and consumes, but I don't do. And it's actually something that's quite widely talked about, I think, in the sort of on the YouTube self-development world, is these type of people, and I think we've probably spoken about this before as well, the type of person who consumes and doesn't do because it's almost like an addiction. You're addicted to the personal development content, but you don't take action because you feel like as long as you're watching it and consuming it and know it's there, that you're making progress and you're doing the right thing. But actually, again, the only way to learn and actually learn is by making mistakes and by experiencing it. It's all well and good knowing these things, but if you can't put it into practice, what use is it? So I'm in that position right now, in a very, very weird headspace, but I feel like I am just coming out the other side of it. Again, I do have to raise this, but it's the time of year. It's the time of year when my head always starts to drop. And unfortunately, there are a
Yeah.
series. I was going to say, unfortunately, there's a series of things that have happened, a series of unfortunate events that have happened that are correlated with this time of year. But I feel like I said the same thing last year. I
Yeah. Even when the weather was starting to dip, I remember saying, "What is your action plan?" Because before the weather gets really bad, I think the trip to Morocco is really going to help because you're going to be in the warmth and you're going to be in the sunshine, and that's going to boost your mood a little bit, I think. And I think that'll be good. But it's also like, how do you get ahead of it if you know this is coming? Like, how do you get ahead of it?
Yeah,
And what are the
well,
strategies you
the
put in
action plan
place?
we spoke about and that I'd always planned to put into place, and I'd written it down. I had like a anti-seasonal depression plan. And vitamin D tablets I've been taking. So Savita has like really, really strong ones from India that her parents brought. I don't think you could even get them here. And you take one a month. That's how strong they are, and it has an impact. And I took one, and I instantly felt this flow of kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, like serotonin, just this flow of warm energy in my body that I
Yeah.
can only describe as the feeling that I feel when it's springtime, when the sun starts to come out for the first time after winter. And it felt really good
Yeah.
for that one day. But then you can't take it more than once a month because there's so much in there. So taking vitamin D regularly, sunshine lamp, exercising regularly, which I have been doing all three of. What else? Getting fresh air in the morning. So going outside and just making sure that I'm not just going straight from bed to my laptop. I haven't been doing that, but I think that's really important. It's just going for a short walk or even just stepping outside my
Yeah.
front door, I think is really important. And then the other thing was breaking up the winter months
Yeah.
with sunny places. And I am going to Morocco. I am planning on going somewhere in February for my friend's birthday. We always do a winter trip, and usually it's to somewhere cold and miserable, somewhere with snow, somewhere really pretty with snow. But this year, I think we're actually planning on going somewhere warm. So that will be a nice way to
Okay,
break it
good.
up. So I'm putting things
Yeah.
into play, and I am actually working on it. But I think, as I say, I think it's a mix of things. I think it's even with all of those things being put into action, I'm I'm going through it a little bit. There are some genuinely really difficult things happening in my life right now. Major life
Yeah.
events really. And I feel I don't want to say it like it's definitely happening, but if I feel like a major part of me is being ripped away, um,
Yeah.
which is really tough. So I'm going through it at the moment, but I do feel like I feel like I'm just starting to come out the other side because I'm trying to do the right things. I'm, as I said, to do positive affirmations, and I do feel that that's starting to make an impact. Um, and so even with the weather the way it is, and the horrible grey clouds and complete lack of sun, I'm starting to feel a bit better. And I
Yeah.
think the one aspect I need to add to my little anti-seasonal depression cocktail is socializing. As I said, like I feel in recent times I've stepped more into my introvert self, which I do tend to over winter. I shut down and go into hibernation from people over winter.
Hmm.
However, I said to Savita at the start of this winter that I think it's really important that I don't do that this year. I think if I'm
Yeah.
seeing my friends regularly, I work from home. So if I'm stepping out of the house regularly after work, I think that's so important to be in a position where I'm keeping my mind occupied. I'm getting my social cup filled. I feel like recently I haven't seen, actually, one of my closest friends, I think I told you this, he reached out to me and said, "What's going on?" Wait, I don't think I did tell you this. The friend that I told you about, who I had this whole thing about in my head about
Yes.
we spoke about this last week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you who didn't listen, go listen to last week's episode.
Exactly. But the friend who I'm debating about whether there's a future there because we've just
Yeah.
at different stages in our life. He reached out to our other friend and said, "Have you heard from Josh? I have tried to make plans with him a few times, and he has cancelled each time. He hasn't made any effort to reschedule." And my friend screenshotted that and sent it to me, which was a bit of a, I think, betrayal of trust. And I was
Yeah.
like, shit, okay, he's mad at me. So I actually reached out to him and I just apologized and I said, listen, I've not been in a great place. I just haven't been talking to anyone recently. I've barely touched my phone. And the truth was that he wanted to reschedule this week, which has been an insanely busy week for me with my mum moving. And thank God, because I got stranded for 2 days anyway.
Yeah.
But that was, yeah, so it's things like that I think I need to make. If people like him are feeling that they've been left by the wayside, who else is? And I really need to make sure that I nurture those friendships over the winter time because it's going to make me feel better. Going out and having laughs with my friends and just I can't be the best version of myself if I'm confined to the same four walls,
Completely.
especially working from home. And I think we've spoken about this before. I've worked from home now for almost 2.5 years, I think. Yeah, about 2.5 years since 2023.
Yeah.
And
Something
those
like
two
that.
winters that I've experienced since working from home have been the worst of my life, like easily, because I'm working from my same four walls every day, and if I'm not getting out after work, it just impacts my mood. So yeah, there are certain things I need to put into place and get back into place. And at the end of the workday, I don't feel like it. It's grey, it's wet. I don't feel like going out, but I have to force myself. I think it's really important. And not cancel on
Yeah.
plans. Like last night, I was about to cancel because I just like was like, I don't feel good. I don't feel like it. But I pushed through and I had a really nice evening. So I think it's really important to keep that going.
Yeah, completely. So much to unpack there. Honestly, I'll say that hearing your voice and hearing the difference in how you sound this week compared to whenever we recorded last is a stark contrast. You do sound better. Like, even though you're dealing with a lot right now, and even though you're dealing with your girlfriend leaving and you're dealing with this stress at work and just all this craziness that this week was getting stranded at your mom's, you do sound like you have a pretty positive headspace around it, which honestly I was surprised. Like, I knew you were going through a really tough week. Like, I was expecting to get on here and have you be like in the depths of despair. But it seems really good that you're like in a positive headspace about all of it, which is good. And to touch on at least like the cycle that you're in right now of that you've been in, honestly, I don't know when you haven't been in the cycle of saying that you know what you need to do and then not doing it. I'm curious, like, I think it's going to be good for you on vacation when you have some time to really sit and think about this and reflect on what you want in your life and the direction you want it to go in. And you're at this really pivotal stage in your life right now where things are changing and things are rupturing. And I think a lot of times people can, period of time where everything's changing, everything's blowing up, like everything is falling apart. And you can either let it make you crumble and you can go into a spiral and a rut, or you can let it slingshot your growth and you can let it be the fuel to your fire. And I hope it's the latter, not the former. But it's making a decision, a conscious decision of how do you break out of this? How do you let this time in your life slingshot you forward into the next stage? And I think the week off is going to be a really good time for you to reflect and a really good time for you to sit and think about where do you want to go with your life? Like, how do you break this pattern? First of all, why is the pattern there in the first place? Like, you have all the tools. You've grown up with all the tools to make your life whatever the fuck you want it to be. So why are you getting stuck in this pattern of, oh, I know what I need to do, I just need to do it, and then you don't fucking do it? Like, where is that coming from? Is it laziness? Is it self-sabotage? We don't know. So I'd spend some time reflecting about that, and then reflecting on the hell you want your life to go. And have you ever done the RPM, like the
Yeah.
results,
Yeah.
purpose, massive action? Yeah, like, I feel like you have opportunity on your plane or whenever to sit and reflect on it and like really get your shit together with it, because we're going into the new year and you're in the last year before your 30s. And I know this is like the time that you wanted to grind and get through it. And we talked about it for the marketing of this podcast, where it's, you've been talking about wanting to do a side hustle forever. And it's like, we literally have a side hustle. It's being handed to you and you're not doing anything with it. And it's Like we have been doing this for free basically. Like I would sit and chat with you regardless if we have mics on or
Yeah.
not. This is just
Yeah.
our friendship. But so for me, it doesn't like matter as much, but it's just kind of like, why are you, I feel like you're training your brain that you say you're going to do something and don't do it. And then your brain reinforces it. So it's like, when the hell are you going to break the cycle?
Yeah.
And how the
It's a
hell are you going to
cycle
break
that
the
I've been
cycle?
in for years. And as you said, I think actually that's a really interesting point, that every time I tell myself or tell people I'm going to do something and then I don't follow through, which is pretty much every time, it's conditioning my brain, right? It's telling my brain that it's okay to do this and this is the way things go. Is when I talk about these things, I don't actually do them. So that's a really interesting
Yeah.
point, is the conditioning of my brain. And you know what's also interesting is seeing it from an outsider's perspective. So you've given me the same advice for however long. I've given myself the same advice. Everyone close to me has said the same thing. And then I was with my friends last night who I spent a week with on my trip, who I saw for one night since, but they don't know me. It's like, it's Gil's actually. It's our Gil's friends. We spent a week together in the early days and we became so close in that week, right? We got to know each other so well. However, I've only known them and spent a total 11, 12 days with them, and all over the course of the last couple of months. So I don't know them very well, right? And I was walking to the station with this one girl who I became really, really close with on the trip. And we were talking about me because she saw, for some reason, she saw something in my eye that I wasn't doing well. And she asked me right at the start of the evening, she was like, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm good," like smiley. And then she kind of like gave me this look and I was like, okay, she doesn't believe me. And then later on the evening, she came back up and she was like, "So how are you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine." She said, "But really?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going through it." And it was so weird that she knew, but we didn't really speak at all. We've never spoken about my career particularly. She knew what I do, but that's about it. Like, we'd never spoken about my career troubles. And we got into it and and she said, "I really see you as the nomad type, the type to set up a business." And she said, "That's what I see you as. I'm so surprised that you're in the corporate world." And I said, "It's funny you say that because this is this is my dream." And she said, "Why is it a dream? Why don't you just do it?" I said, "Because I I couldn't answer that." I was like, "Well, why am I not just doing it?" And she saw me stutter and said, "You have it in you. Like, you're exactly the type of person that can do this. There is absolutely no reason why you can't do it. Just do it. Literally just do it." And she's also a corporate girly. She's not an entrepreneur, but she saw this in me. And it was just interesting again hearing that from an outsider's perspective. It was quite a bit of a confidence booster in a way, that someone sees that in me. Yeah.
It's so true. Like, you do have it in you. It's just, I am, like, you can condition your brain up until this point to, when you say you're going to do something, you just don't do it. And then you train yourself to be, it's okay to not follow through on what I say I'm going to do. And that's a hard pattern to break, but I think you can. And I think entrepreneurship very much is literally just coming up against roadblocks. That's all you do. You just come across roadblocks and you figure out how to fix it. Like, everything is figure outable. Everything's a challenge. And you just have to, like, oh, challenge. Okay, done. Fix it. And just put out. I heard this analogy. It's like building a house while it's on fire. That's exactly what starting a business is. And it's, when are you going to build?
When are you going to start? I think that's the biggest thing for me is starting. And we've seen it with the podcast. When I started with social media, I got into my flow and I was posting every day for a long time. And then it fell off for whatever reason. I think it was because I went away at the time.
You went away and then
And
you
then I
hit
hit
like
a
a roadblock. Like, you
I
hit a
think I hit a
challenge.
roadblock. I
Yeah.
hit a mental block at that time as well. It was just I'd been away and then I was starting my new job and and then I got back on track a couple of months ago and I was posting every day for a little while. And then it just, again, it hit the block. But it's every time I get started, every time I actually start doing it, I see it feels good. It feels good. And I do get into that flow, but it is just about getting started. And that's where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
I hit, I started posting for a few days, I think a couple of months ago, maybe back in August or something. And then I think it was September, and then I hit a roadblock where nothing was working. I was trying all these different formats and trying the AI kind of to generate content, but it wasn't working. And I hit this block, and I was like, I just shut down. So there is the element of getting started, but also pushing through and adapting. Because if I just give up when it starts to get even slightly challenging, then I,
Like, how are you going to start
I'm
any
always going to fail in
business?
business, because business is all about failing.
That's literally all you do all the time. That's all you do all the time in starting a business, is that you try, you fail, you try, you fail. That's it. That's it. You fall on your face and you get back up. You learn the lessons from the failure. You try different things until something works. Like, that's all starting a business is. That's all life is at the end of the day. Is like, how else are you going to grow as a human being if you're not falling on your fucking face? Like, you have to be okay with it's not failures, it's just learning lessons and growing and becoming a new evolved version of yourself. And that's all it is. But if you crumble at the first sign of failure, how do you ever achieve anything in your fucking life? How do you grow at all?
No,
You know
exactly,
what I mean?
exactly. And I think that is a problem for me, is I have a very kind of self-destructive headspace a lot of the time. And I think that is tied into the BPD, that the moment things get tough, it feels much more intensely tough, or much more intense than
Yeah.
it would to the average person. So I'll give you a very good example. Like, in my relationship, if we're talking away from work, the moment things start to get tough, or we have a difficult conversation where Savita is voicing something to me that I'm not doing, or that I could be doing better, which I think is essential in a relationship, I just shut down and I go into this headspace of I fucked this up. I'm not good enough. And in reality, she's just communicating something that I should be doing or could be doing better, or she would like me to be doing better, which, as I say, I think is essential, that she should be able to do that. But in my head, I'm just like, this is the worst thing in the world. What have I done? I'm a terrible person. And that's where my head goes. And I think it's the same with career. When I hit a roadblock, I'm like, I'm failing and I'm done. I can't do this anymore, even subconsciously. And I think that's where it goes. But that's, I preach about neuroplasticity and about reprogramming your brain, and I am living proof of that with overcoming addiction. So addiction is one of the hardest things to overcome. Surely I've proven to myself that I can do that, and I've done the hardest thing. And if I can do that, why can't I do it in other areas? And that's probably a deeper psychological question of, why am I not doing it? What's the mental block? What are the kind of patterns that I've been following since I was probably a teenager, to be honest, since I was at school, when I would say I would start studying and then I never got round to it. So yeah, plenty to delve into.
I think definitely take some time during your vacation and really sit in reflection on that, because it's something much deeper, especially if this is such a deep pattern. And I'd spend some time in deep reflection about where this comes from and what your life is going to be like almost Dickens process yourself, where it's like, what is life going to look like if you continue with this bullshit?
Yeah.
Straight up.
No, wait, I think a Dickens process is, I've done very subtle versions of it, not as intense in recent times, where I have been questioning. I think we spoke about this last week. What life am I going to live? How am I going to feel for the rest of my life if I keep going on about this the same way? It's going to be fucking miserable. I'm going to constantly follow this pattern and feel this way. And it's going to be horrible. It's going to be completely miserable existence for the rest of my life. Is that what I want? No. And I think is that kind of realization that is going to push me into taking action and consistent action. But I think I really need this week away to reset and actually journal. I think I'm going to do a lot of journaling over the next week. It's going to be a busy kind of trip. Like, it's not going to be a sitting by the pool or the beach kind of trip. It's a busy trip. But there's going to be a lot of kind of travel time around the country. So the
in-between times, the
exactly.
planes, the buses,
I'm going to have
whatever.
plenty of time, and I don't have to think about anything except for enjoying my trip and this. so I can really take that time to reset, which will be great. But that's enough
think
about
so.
me. I hate talking about myself so much.
Josh, we literally have a podcast
I
where we
know,
talk
I know,
about
but I
our
feel
own
like we
lives.
said this last time. I think last week I said right at the start, I was like, yeah, it's not much new with me, and then I ended up talking for most of the episode. So
Yeah.
how are you? What's new? You look like you're in a really beautiful apartment.
I am. I just got to literally like 10 minutes before we started recording. I just got to an apartment in
No.
Hanoi, Vietnam. I'm here with my best friend Parker and Monsieur 66. Literally, we all just reunited. I want to just do a quick recap, and then there's something I actually want to talk about. There are a couple things, like a couple topics, but there's one I really want to focus on today. But long story short, last week, my best friend was supposed to come with me to the south of Vietnam, and he didn't get his visa in time. So I ended up spending like 5 days in the south of Vietnam by myself, which honestly, I think it's shown me tremendous emotional growth, because if this happened last year, I would have been so angry. I would have been so angry about the fact that flaking is like a big thing for me, and I would have been so angry. But this time I like wasn't angry at all. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like it gives me opportunity to like really get my shit done at work and really have my time to myself. And I got so much stuff done this week. Like I don't think my to-do list has ever looked this crossed off. So it was really nice, and I really enjoyed my own time. And every day I would like wander, and I had the perfect day every day. I would wander, gym, pool, work, and that is my perfect day. And that's my perfect travel day, or my perfect day as a digital nomad. And I got to do that every day, and I got to like really dive in, do the work, do some really great deep work, and especially going into my busy season at work. I know we talked about my work last week, so I want to do a quick recap, but not get too much into it. But essentially last week we talked about this like challenge I was having with my corporate job, and it did like it got a little worse, but then I think it got better. That's good. And like basically another crazy person complained, and then we had a really, really positive person say that they had a really great experience. So it's like balancing out a little bit. And I have a meeting with my boss later tonight to go over something else, but I think she's going to probably mention it and bring it up. But it's like I'm feeling okay there. And my aunt told me, like, your goal isn't to climb the corporate ladder. Like, you have to keep the big picture in mind. Yes, you want a raise this year, and yes, you want a promotion. But if it doesn't happen, like, you have to keep the big picture in mind, is that your goal isn't to climb the corporate ladder. Like, you are going through so much growth in life right now. You're going through so much career growth in your podcast right now. Like, it's okay, and it's totally fine, and you're just learning from this experience, and you're learning how to advocate for yourself and stand up for yourself and make sure that you have the numbers to back yourself. And what I did do is I sent the data to my boss about actually here are the data, here's the statistics about showing that I do my job and that I do it well. So being able to show that like with actual concrete numbers made me feel really good for standing up for myself. And then literally 20 minutes later, another crazy person complained, and I was like, okay, great. But whatever. The thing I want to talk to you about specifically today is, first of all, because we're probably not going to talk next week, which we might talk, but today is officially the 1-year anniversary of the day that my ex started the whole breakup thing. I don't know, the breakup took 10 days between November 7th and November 17th. And today is officially the 1-year anniversary of the day that the rug got pulled out from under me. And I don't know, it's something that I haven't spent a lot of time, and the reason I want to talk to you about this now is I haven't spent a lot of time today in reflection over it, because honestly, my travel journey coming here was insane, and I was very stressed out this morning, and I haven't had a second to sit down and think about that. I haven't had a second to like really reflect on it and think about, wow, like I've come a long way in a year. And I think back to I think back to what I went through this time last year, and it makes me sad. Like, it makes me so sad for my past self that I had to go through something that traumatic. Oh my God, I've never actually gotten teary-eyed on the podcast. I actually don't cry in front of other people. You're probably one of the only people who's heard me get ridiculously emotional. But I think about what I went through last year at this time, and I feel really sad for myself, and I like have so much compassion for what I went through, because it was really, really, really traumatic. Like the breakup was very out of nowhere. It was unexpected. It was very, very difficult. It was, I think, probably the hardest, the first 4 days of the breakup, or 5 days of the breakup, were probably the worst days of my life so far. Like, it was survival mode. Like my only job was to shower and get outside for a little bit. Like I was not eating. I was sleeping, but I was not eating. I was on the phone constantly with loved ones. I was binging Call Her Daddy and just alone in my friend's house, like trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. And I think back to that time and I feel sad for my past self, but I have so much compassion for it. And I've been thinking about, or I'm thinking about it now. It's like in this whole year, I've grown so much and I've learned so much, and it doesn't feel like a year, honestly. It feels like it's been way shorter than that. Like it feels like it's gone so fast. And I don't know. I think about in terms of the breakup, how I feel, and there are parts of me that are always going to love him and miss him. And there are like situations that have come up in the last like couple weeks and I'm like, damn, like I literally would never have to deal with this with him. But also there was a lot of trade-offs. Like I was happy in my life, but I sacrificed so much to be in that relationship, and I wasn't appreciated for who I was, and I had to bend over backwards for someone who wasn't appreciating it, and I had to make myself smaller to be in the relationship, and it was a really, really tough time. And I think about, I don't know, like where I was a year ago compared to now, and I don't know. I feel like I'm just like letting it sink in, just like processing through it all. And it's just, it's all hitting me right now. Like I'm thinking about, and I like almost feel it right now in my heart, what that was like last year. And just thinking about that, like I'm always like a date person. Oh, a year ago from this date or whatever, 2 years ago from this date. And it's,
Yeah. I think it's really
yeah.
important to reflect. I think what's also very important is to make sure that you don't get stuck in that reflection, because it's easy to get kind of live that emotion again. And there's a difference between reflecting and living it. I think if you look back on that time and it was a really difficult time, and you feel that compassion for what you were going through and the fact that you really, really went through it. Of course, I remember, and it doesn't feel like that long ago at all to me either. It feels
so short, right?
so
I
short.
can't
Yeah,
believe it's been a
it's been
year.
a really fast year. But I think it's really important when you're reflecting on it to reflect on what it's given you as a result. Is if you have that positive spin on it. We said at the time, I said at the time, because I think you couldn't quite see it at that time, but how excited I was for this year. And I didn't quite say it this early on. That would have been a bit premature. I repeated to you that after you've made your plan of what you were going to do for the year, how excited I was to see the growth that you're going to go through. And I feel like we've seen that. And again, I love the fact that we have the podcast because it's been documented over the last year, and the amount of shit that you've done and again been through and experienced over this last year is incredible. But just the amount of growth that you've shown, and I feel it's exceeded my expectations. I was excited for you, but I feel like you've really, really lived this year. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that you've been given. But I also think at the time I was very subtle in the way that I tried to approach saying this to you. But as you said yourself, that relationship was holding you back in so many ways, and it was making you be smaller than you are. And I feel like this year and the breakup has created and unleashed Sasha. It's a completely unleashed, I think, is the best way to put it. And I think that's a really amazing thing that this has given you. And there's so many positives to focus on. I think it's really important to focus on those instead of getting bogged down in how you were feeling back then. There's that saying about people who live in the past. I mean, I know you're not living in the past, but people who live in the past end up depressed. And so
the people who live in the future are anxious, and the people who live in the present are
exactly,
happy.
Exactly, or they're content. And I think you are, I'm sure, living in the present for the most part. I've seen over the last year how there's been an element of living in the future as well, with the uncertainty.
That's my natural
tendency. which is okay as long as it's under wraps, under control. But don't start living in that place, because it's not serving you. It's not serving you to think, I was really sad and that makes me really sad now. Instead, look at it from a place of, I was really sad and I was really going through it, but what a blessing that has ended up being, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think about this entire year. And since November 7th last year, other than Paris, I have not been in a place longer than 16 days. So I think like moving around from place to place has forced me to be very present. And when I was in Paris, I think it was probably the most present I was, because I knew the time was ephemeral and I knew the time was fleeting. And I was so conscious about, this is the only time I have with these people in this moment. I need to be as present as possible. And I feel that way a lot with my travels. Like, I think traveling from place to place forces you to be present, because you're like, I have to experience this place right now because I'm going to be leaving it soon. And it's been a lesson in that. But it's interesting to like think about the year. And even like with this example of my best friend not getting his visa, like just thinking about how I would have reacted to that a year ago versus now, I'm like, I can literally see the evolution. Like I can literally see how I've grown and changed. And I think there are probably a lot of ways that I don't see because I'm so in it. I think externally, it's probably a little bit more clear. Even some of our friends, anyone who's listening, if you want to listen to the episode where I'm actually going through it, I think it was episode like 13 or 15 with Katie Burns. So go back and listen. But I was talking to Katie, and Katie saw me in February or maybe March. And then she saw me again in September. And she's like, you in 6 months, like you have become a different person. And I feel like a new person. It's actually wild. And I feel so much more like myself. And I feel so much happier now. And I feel like I've grown a lot. And I'm so happy now. Like I'm really happy that I ended up leaving that relationship. And of course, like grief still comes up, but I think that's natural. Like the relationship was great. Like he's a great person. I was very happy in my life, but it came with a lot of sacrifice and it came with a lot of challenges for a long time. And I'm happy with where I am now, and I'm excited about where I'm moving forward and where I'm going. It's so crazy to sit here and be like, a year ago when the rug got pulled out from under me, my entire life changed in the matter of one conversation that I will literally never forget. It is burned in my head. In the span of 1 year, if you told me that I would be in North Vietnam with my best friend and like my summer situation,
Yeah.
whatever, I'd be like, who the fuck do you think, what is happening? So yeah, it's been pretty crazy to think about, but I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think any of this is a coincidence. I just think it's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And I want to take time to, yes, reflect on it and think about it, but I also want to celebrate it as well. It's been, my friend calls it my single-versary. She texted me actually, she's like, happy almost single-versary. So I think the 17th is officially my single-versary, but this is like the beginning of that. So I think in the next 10 days, I'm going to be in some reflection about what have I learned as far as like being a single person on my own in this last year. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that you and I are recording
No,
today.
that's
Like,
actually, yeah, clearly it was the universe breaking my car down, getting me stranded, making us record
yeah.
today, but also,
2 cars, Josh. It wasn't
I
even
know,
1 car. It was
literally
2
insane,
cars.
insane. But also, I think I'm going away for a week, so we're almost certainly not going to be able to record next week, so I won't be bringing my computer with me.
Yeah.
But then I'm back pretty much around the 17th, so it kind of timing wise it aligns nicely.
Yeah. I think we both have some deep reflecting to do
Absolutely. And
this,
it's going to be,
in
I
the
think it's going to
next
be a
10
really
days.
interesting catch up the next time we speak, because there is a huge amount of very important reflecting that we have to do.
Yeah.
Grief is, as we've said before, it's not linear. And just when you think it's over, it comes back and hits you with another wave. And I've seen that with you over the last year. It's come in waves, and even when it looks like you're completely over it, and I think even a couple of months ago, there was suddenly a wave that hit you, and we were like, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah.
So it's never it's never gone when you think it's gone completely. And I think it always comes back up, those feelings on the anniversary of something. I see it with Bella.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who grieves very hard usually, so I can't really speak for myself because I'm quite emotionally detached, and I think I just shut down when I'm grieving.
Yeah.
But with Bella, she grieves very intensely for anyone. And my granddad passed away, I think 3 years ago. a few weeks ago, the anniversary was, and Bella grieved so intensely when he died, so intensely. Just she was so close to him, and Bella's a very emotional person. And then she started living her life. She moved out to LA. She seemed to be much better. And then it was the anniversary a few weeks ago, and I saw that she put on her Instagram saying, "Does anyone know any grief counselors in LA?" And then I think I reached out to her and I checked in on her, and she was really going through it because suddenly those emotions of the death of that, the day that you grieved or the week or month that you ended up grieving, whatever it was that you lost, they come flowing back because you're thinking about shit. That was tough. That was a really tough time for me, and it feels like what you're going through right now, which is completely understandable.
Yeah, I heard this gorgeous quote the other night, and it was about grief, and it said, grief is like, initially when the first shock happens, it's like having a wound down your entire body and you're gushing blood. And then over time, the wound heals and heals over, but you're always going to have that scar, and the scar just becomes a part of you. And honestly, I don't think I've ever heard something that was more true about grief. Like the quotes that keep me going about grief is, grief was just love with nowhere to go, which I think is totally true. It's just love for a person, love for a relationship that just has no outlet anymore. So it gets stuck in the body, and it's like, this yucky feeling has nowhere to go. And I've come to terms with my grief, and I've come to accept it, and I've come to love it, because truly it just means that I had something worth grieving. Like I had a good thing going and whatever. And that and the scars, I think it's true. If I think about last year around this time, my whole life imploded. Everything blew the fuck up. Like in literally the span of one fucking conversation. Like I went from getting married and buying an apartment to, oh my God, like I might have to leave my home. I might have to leave my relationship within the span of one fucking conversation. Like my whole life got turned upside down. And during that time, I literally was gushing blood to the point of not being able to function. Like I was not human during those days. But now it just feels like a scar. Like it feels like a scab or like a scar on my body. And that's okay. And it's a part of me, and that's cool. And I learned so much from the relationship, and I learned so much from this year after the relationship. And I think it's just a part of me now. But I think in the next 10 days, we're going to spend some serious time in deep reflection. And I think the next catch up is going to be pretty, unless we get a chance to record before you go, which I highly doubt, but in case we do, cool. But in case we don't, I think this next time, like you're going to spend some time thinking about this pattern, and I'm going to spend some time thinking about this last year and what the hell I've become, who the hell I've become, and where the hell I want to go after this. And I think it's going to be a good one.
It is already a good one. I love that quote. I love that quote about the scars. I think that's so pertinent because it's real. It's just what our bodies go through, like what our skin, our organs, our brain is part of that. And it's the same for any kind of grief or emotional damage, any sort of traumatic or stressful event. You could say the same. I think it's really, really interesting. I really like that. And I think it's important because it means that we're delicate, and we have to treat our brains the same way that we would treat a scar on our body when it's healing. We have to be careful with it. So I really like that.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited for both of us. And yeah, but thanks you guys for listening. Thanks. It's been almost a year since we've launched our podcast. So thanks so much for listening and being a part of it. And anyway, we'll catch you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.